I am a Colorado native and started my political story in 2012 as a Republican. I switched to the Constitution Party after my first campaign left me feeling like I needed a shower. That was when I was running as a Republican. So are you thinking of running for office? Let me recommend that you pray, and pray some more. Right on. Yes, I am recommending that you spend most of your energy on prayer. If you get that fire in the pit of your belly, the need to correct the many wrongs currently being committed by our officials, it can be consuming. You will soon find that you are giving up many of the plans that you may have had in your mind for your future. You will be putting your money towards the removal of those that are not giving glory to the Lord or preserving the rights of others. You will be in the public eye, and you'll be in the bullseye of those that want to put a stop to you. Don't be surprised if you're falsely portrayed. And if this sounds familiar, it should. It's at the end of our very own Declaration of Independence. These men pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. They knew how far they had come, how hard they had worked. They knew how hard we would have to work in order to keep our freedoms. Getting involved in politics is not a nice, warm, fuzzy thing to do. There are people that have a lot of power and control. It might be surprising to some of you that are new to this, but they aren't excited about having someone challenge them. Nor are they willing to just move out of the way because it's the right thing to do. My very first step into politics was due to the rudeness and lack of respect by our local county commissioner. I was shocked by this type of behavior towards her constituents, towards the very people that had and would be voting for her. These are the people that elected her into office to serve and protect them. The more I observed, the more I learned, the more I found that these people were being looked upon as subjects. And they strategically got fed basically the same thing that gardeners utilize to fertilize their plants. I believe that Mark Twain had this in mind when he stated that politicians and diapers need changed often and for the same reason. This is not a new problem. When this country was in its very beginning, our founders knew how people can become power hungry and no longer serve the people that they are supposed to be serving. Being elected into office was supposed to be a temporary thing, specifically during their good behavior. We have bought into their sales pitch of needing people that are experienced and highly trained at being a politician. That's the exact opposite of the truth. We need people that are not career politicians. We need people that remember what it's like to remember to work and struggle while trying to support and care for their families. Don't let anyone tell you, but that's not the way you do this. As I would turn in for the night, I would take a moment to ask the Lord for His protection and His guidance as to what I would do for the next day. I may be mulling over some recommendations from others. I may even have an idea or two of my own. But as morning came, I would wake up with what I believed was my guidance for the day. There would be new ideas on decorating a trailer for a parade, or what we could do to prepare our horses for interaction with the public. Maybe even some community events that weren't even on my radar. He even gave me specific warnings along the way. I found at one time during a campaign, my opponent believed in my guidance, maybe even more than I did at times. The way I knew was, every move I made was quickly followed by a similar one by my opponent. If I placed a sign at one location, one of hers would be close by within a couple days. If I sent a postcard, she would immediately follow up with one herself. When I changed the look of my signs, She updated hers also. I participated in a multitude of parades, and she was no longer just sending her signs on the trailers for the party, but started participating also. This went on with everything from radio ads to t-shirts. I got the feeling that she may have thought I had a high caliber campaign team working for me. Frankly, I did, but not the way one might think. We had our immediate family, a couple of well-trusted friends, and most importantly, my guidance from the Lord and His holy word. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't win this way. My first statement that other professionals wouldn't support was that I believe that the Bible is the inerrant word of God. I immediately was told, "You're never going to win that way." Well, I will be the first to admit that I was disappointed when I didn't win a political race, though there are other wins. I will give you some of my insight, but most of us in this room have been a candidate, been on a candidate committee, have helped with the campaign. I have learned one thing that is extremely important. After guidance from the Lord, we need to listen to those we trust. There are a lot of people in this room, which means there is a lot of wisdom to be shared. We all have stories that we can share of our successes. We are fighting a hard battle. So let's encourage each other with the wins. Also share some of the things that you've learned from. I'm not going to refer to them as failures because they're not. Every little thing that the Lord allows into our lives is something that we can either learn from or be strengthened by. I will start with some things that I was led through. These are things that the Lord brought to my attention in those early mornings after asking for His guidance the night before. When I contacted the chairman of my old party about my intention to run for office, I was told to just come in, sign a few papers, and you can get started. I had a very bad feeling about trusting this woman. My husband and I read every page of the 270 plus pages about the finance rules. It slowed down my announcement compared to how it was supposed to be done, but there were several times that that specific knowledge was put to the test. I later had some ladies that took me shopping so that I would have the right appearance that others would be expecting. After a few hours of holding to my standards of modesty, I finally agreed to accept one jacket that was handed to me along with a necklace. I was told to just enjoy them as an early birthday gift. I promptly reported these items as a contribution, and 6 years later, one lady still will not make eye contact with me. I had an acquaintance from church call me to encourage me to not go through the assembly process, but proceed via petition instead. He touted a plan to help me work towards getting this person out of office. Days later at the county assembly, that gentleman not only didn't keep his word to me, but actually nominated the very official that I would be running against. He had earlier told me that I would be surprised by whom would no longer be my friends because I was involved in politics. He had also told me I would be surprised by who would suddenly appear to be friendly towards me. He wasn't lying, for I was certainly surprised by his actions. It wasn't until his dying days that he was pleased to see me and thankful for my kindness towards him regardless of what had happened. I no longer trusted him, but I needed to keep in mind that Jesus died for him also. Help isn't always what is needed, but good help is. When it came time for the petition process, I had a great teacher at the elections office. She gave me several helpful tips to keep pages from being damaged and helped me to understand all the specific rules which applied. One gentleman gathered signatures but left the packet at his home for me. He had not gotten it notarized and suggested that my husband just do it for him. Jerry was thankful that he had let his notary license expire so that there wasn't even that little bit of temptation to do what that man had suggested. Another man had a packet which he had gathered signatures and then gave it to another person to gather signatures. That was also a clear violation of a circulator needing to witness all signatures. Yet another man gathered signatures. He told me he would have a notary at his office to do all of my packets for me. I had that morning guidance that told me to have a trusted friend do the ones that I had in hand. Once I got to the office of the other person, I found a packet that was improperly notarized and one that had been taken apart. These were also clear violations to the rules. At that point, I knew he had intended to ruin as many packets as possible. I shook his hand and told him that I knew that he had tried his best. He hung his head in shame and told me that because of things like this, he would be getting out of politics. I turned in my packets and qualified to get on the ballot. Within weeks of these antics, there was another woman who attempted to run for local office against an incumbent. She also had others that had offered to help. She turned in all the petition packets, and the next thing she knew, she was in the newspapers being accused of election fraud. Are you feeling a bit scared? You should take the opposition seriously, but you should not be afraid. The one who calls you to this duty is also the one who will walk with you on this journey. I truly believe that he guided me past those hurdles placed in my path. If I only told you of the successes, it might encourage everyone in this room to blindly run for office. If I didn't tell you of my struggles, and I could have saved you from a bad situation, then it would be shame on me. Success may be winning that seat for office. It may be getting your name and information about the party out into the public. It might be getting asked for interviews in the media. It might be having others trust you enough to ask for your opinion on differing subjects and candidates. Maybe you're asked to give your testimony at places you may not have otherwise. You might even be asked to give a presentation for the Constitution Party. Whatever it is, it will stretch you further than you ever thought possible. You will learn things you never imagined. Your circle of influence will be broadened, and you will be able to share with many because of it. I have earned respect from groups that have politically opposing views, but they welcome me anyway. Now God has given me more opportunities to share why I believe what I do. I believe each of these is a success. One gentleman here had reminded me that dogs don't bark at parked cars. If you are getting to them, if they feel you are a real challenge, chances are you will have a battle on your hands. Speaking of hands, keep them together and pray.